Hi guys, welcome to another episode of Pointy Not Sharp. Today we're taking a look at a really special bayonet. These are quite rare, you don't see them very often, and very expensive when they do sell. This is a Sudanese AR-10 bayonet made for the AR-10 manufactured by AI in the Netherlands, AI being Artillery Intelligence. Now, Sudan had 2,508 of these rifles and bayonets produced in 1958 for them. I'm assuming that's when they received them as well. And while the rifles are made by AI, we don't actually know who made the bayonets. At this stage, we're assuming it was Carl Icahn based on a similar design they produced during the Second World War, and they're now based out of West Germany. But we'll jump into the history. So Sudan, leading up to and just after World War II, was under British colonial rule, and because of that, they were using a lot of British weapons. They were using SMLEs, number 4 rifles, things like that, with pattern 1907 and spike bayonets as well. Now, they declared their independence from England in 1955. They were sort of pushed towards it by the UK, and they sort of set them up with their own government. But unfortunately, didn't go terribly well, because not long after they declared independence and started their parliament, they fell into civil war. A civil war that lasted from 1955 until 1972, and it was particularly bloody. Now, that civil war was mainly fought with World War II weapons, what was left over, things that were left in Africa from Italians, Germans, and everything from British colonial rule. But in 1958, the Sudanese government ordered the AR-10 with these bayonets, and I believe they were received shortly later. Now, this bayonet here is actually a copy of the World War II German SG-42 bayonet, which I believe was only ever an experimental. I don't think it went into full production or anything like that, and I don't think they saw any use. I could be wrong. But it's essentially the same as what you see here, just a little bit different with a blade in the white and probably a little bit smaller. These bayonets were also sold to, it's not confirmed, but they received rifles that had the same bayonet setup. Guatemala, 450. Burma, less than 500. Indonesia, 500 to 1,000. We don't have an exact number. And a small number for Dutch trials, because Dutch trialed the AR-10 as well, and they trialed that with a couple of different bayonets until they ended up settling on something else completely different. So that didn't go anywhere. But in total, between 3,700 and 4,500 of these bayonets are believed to have been produced, and there is no way to distinguish whether it's a Sudanese, Guatemalan, Burmese, or Indonesian. Although Indonesia is a time capsule, nothing comes in or out, and I haven't seen a single one of these on the Indonesian market, so they likely used something else or didn't have these bayonets at all. But hey, could be wrong. Now, these bayonets and rifles were used until 1985, and they were likely replaced by AKs in Sudanese service, but it's not really clear. They tend to use a little bit of everything, whatever they get their hands on, AKs, M16s, bits and pieces from all over the place, like a lot of African countries do. Now, later versions of the AR-10 rifle did take a different bayonet to this. So Portugal, they had 2 different bayonets, I believe. They had one that was like a M7 style with a wood grip, and then they also had a M4 bayonet with a modified muzzle ring. So there were a couple of different kinds. This wasn't the only AR-10 bayonet ever produced. Now, these did see extensive service against guerrilla forces and border skirmishes in Sudan. Sudan, unfortunately, has been a very violent place for the last 60 years. Considering the amount of bloodshed that they've seen, these bayonets are in remarkably good condition, indicating they were likely not issued at the front line, or they've been refurbished or something like that. But they are very durable bayonets. They're very tough and very strong, so they just being a durable product, or maybe they just weren't used extensively. But all that aside, we'll jump into the construction of the bayonet. As you can see, we've got a big double-sided blade with a dark blued finish. It's very broad, very big. I've got big hands, and this is a very large bayonet even for me. So someone with a smaller or skinnier hand, this thing is going to be absolutely giant. We've got a spear point tip at the end. This one is not sharpened, but you can just tell by feeling the steel that it's going to sharpen up pretty good. The blade has a little bit of bend in it, and we've got a small little ricasso either side down there. Now we don't have a metal cross piece on this, it just goes straight down to 2 Bakelite grips retained by 3 brass screws. I wonder why they use brass, no idea. Yeah, we've got this little catch here, I'll get into that in a second. Moving down, we've got a metal mortise and a latch. Now the latch is missing the coil spring that would normally sit in there. I'm trying to find a replacement at the moment. They would also usually have a little leather washer around the blade so that when you sheath it in the scabbard, it's nice and quiet. But sadly, we don't have that. Now the back of what I guess you'd call the pommel is just the Bakelite, so this is not going to make a good hammer. Now I'll jump into the scabbard and then we'll cover off what makes these bayonets really cool and unique. The scabbard again is just 2 pieces of Bakelite. We've got no drainage hole, and then we've just got a steel throat. It would come with a steel frog as seen on the SG 42, but this one is missing and likely never going to find a replacement, so that's gone. The throat's retained by 2 domed flathead screws, and that's the scabbard. Now what makes these really cool is they have a set of tools within the handle. So we've got a little latch just here. You pull that down. It's tricky to do on camera. Or you push it down. Ah, come on. And then this swings out. This one is fairly delicate, so I'm going to be quite careful with it. And we've got a number of tools inside here. So I had no idea what that would be for. Yeah. There's a bottle opener in there as well, if I can get that out without damaging things. Probably not. I think it comes out the bottom actually. I think that oh, that rotates, that's right. Forgot about that. So we can get that bottle opener out. There we go. We've got a bottle opener. We've got whatever those 3 tools are. And that's really about it. A little bit of a tool on the end there as well. I'm assuming these all have very specific purposes, likely to do with maintenance of the rifle, or maybe to be used in conjunction with ammo boxes or something like that. But folds back up, and let's just go back in. I always forget. Come on. Okay, I might do that off camera, but that does go back in there. I really don't want to break this, and it is quite fiddly. But that's the overall construction of the bayonet. I'll jump into the markings, of which we only have 2. So on the right, we have a serial number, and as you can see, this one is 1466. So I'm assuming that's going to be out of the 2500 for the Sudanese contract. And then on the left, so that is the Interarms Co. Logo, and just says it's got the patent and Germany underneath it. So not very useful information, unfortunately. I've been meaning to make this video for the longest time. I've been sitting on this one for probably a year now, and the reason I've held off is because there's already a lot of fantastic information out there. They're very well documented. Another bloke's done a great video on it that I really don't have much to add to at all. And I just kept coming up with other things that were a priority that there was no information on. So finally got around to it. Really cool bayonet. I really like them. I'd love to get a few. But I just love the AR-10 in general and all the bayonets that go with it. I need the others as well, like the converted M4. Anyway, that's all I've got for you today. If I've missed anything or made any mistakes, guys, please feel free to comment below and correct me. And thanks for watching.